Hi, I'm Dr. Mantz, and this is the Ask Me Anything 5 week experiment that I'm running on my Twitter fellowship. I'm asking them to ask me anything, and this week's topic was on emotions. So they can ask me anything. The person who gets the most likes for their particular question, I'll answer it here. So we're going to do this for 5 weeks. If we get more engagement and it seems to be building, I might start asking it beyond 5 weeks. But let's see what happens, and we're going to run this out right now. So in the first week, we talked about the question. The topic was on emotion. So I'm going to be running this through, no editing at all. Might make a little mistake here and there. I'm just going to let it flow. But this week's winner was Aaron. Aaron's question on emotions is, what is your best advice to help children to learn a balance of emotional regulation and avoid patterns of indulgent emotions? The way I take that question on is like, how do we teach our children to become emotionally intelligent without turning them into a bunch of whiny drama queens? So I'm just going to answer it from that perspective. And, implicit in that response is the idea that if we get into emotions, see, there's already a kind of, I would say, almost implicit this idea that underlies emotions itself, and that there's sometimes wishy-washy and they're not rational and all these other kind of problems with it, because everything we do, if it has action involved with it, it has a behavior, it's a thought, all that, it has emotion as its engine behind it. Any decision you're making, anything, I don't care how rational you think it is, it's being driven ultimately by an emotion. So it's important that we actually teach our children about their emotions. And it's vitally important to keep their well being and overall just happiness, because without emotions, we're just not able to function at all. I treat a lot of patients who have difficulty with having any emotion at all, and they can't make almost any decision in life, including how to brush their teeth or how to do anything. It's emotion that gives life its directionality. So going to your question now, I want to go back to when we're starting to teach children something. It's important that we just don't dive into it, that we actually start to teach them a little bit about learning itself. It's one of the areas in school that they've left out, and it's incredibly important. And one of the things you want to develop is a growth mindset. We all know that in learning, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get frustrated. You're going to get confused. You're going to have these difficult emotions. So it's very important that from the onset that we cultivate this, that we allow that, so we can build that anti-fragility, build that perseverance, build that resilience, so that allow that child to be able to be okay to say, listen, I don't understand this right now, or I'm a little bit confused, and not have to kind of pretend that they know, already building up a wall here and making things a little bit more cloudy. So building that growth mindset, and one of the things that you can do, it's simple as well, is just modeling it yourself. Modeling when you're making mistakes, trying to teach them. Oh, I made a mistake there. Let me just think about this for a second. Take a step back, reflect. Because ultimately, that growth mindset, depending on the age of the child, but eventually it develops that capacity to reflect on learning itself, that they can take a step back, what we call the backward step, and be able to start to look at their thoughts and emotions and behaviors and get to see the different patterns and be able to maybe change the trajectory if it's going in one way or the other. That's ultimately one of the biggest capacities that we can develop in our children, is this metacognition, this ability to kind of look at our thoughts and behaviors and emotions rather than from them, because that's really important. It allows us the capacity to change and shift in ways that we couldn't do otherwise, like what other animals can't do, we can. That metacognition is important. So with the growth mindset, you want to bring it towards in this case, as we're talking about emotions, that to start talking about the emotions that come with learning and growing, like irritability, like frustration, like discomfort, and being able to describe them and modeling them yourself. So that's really one of the big important ones, and also being like anxious, and just by being able to describe these more uncomfortable emotions, it normalizes them, it allows children then to express them. And when you see them getting frustrated or anxious or upset, you stop the learning process, because the learning process is happening right in front of you. So you want to be able to describe, oh, what are you feeling inside? How is it like? Where are you feeling that in your body? And being able to help them process it. Because leading into the next step, and that is teaching kids to be able to verbalize their internal experience of emotions. One of the easier ways to do that is, depending on the age of the child, but you may have to start with just like emoticons. And then eventually, if you're able to read the emoticons with the motion underneath it, like a certain face that's happy, And you put a happiness underneath there, and angry, and so on and so forth. And you could just have them pick it out. What are they feeling inside? Then you can play a little game. I like to do it where you make a mirror and it's like make different faces. I mean, kids love to make faces. Everyone likes to make faces. Let's make it that way. We can try to make happy faces. We can make sad faces, angry faces, and hold it for a while. Because oftentimes when you're making the face, you actually start to feel a little bit of the emotion, especially when you're doing it, fairly accurately for your body's type. So by doing that, you're kind of, it's like an evocation process. And if it starts to sense that person emotion, and it may start to happen, anytime the child's not recognizing it and you recognize it, you can call and say, like, hey, what are you noticing right now? What's going on? So a lot of the times you're going to be pausing out of the whatever way you're going to set up the teaching and being able to and really observing the child. And whenever they're having an emotional experience, or whenever you're having an emotional experience, stop everything and work with what's going on right in that interaction, because that is the most important part when you're trying to teach emotions. Now, one of the things that you want to be able to do, which you can combine all of these things around, is adding in a sense of play. It's really important that you invoke play, curiosity, having fun, jokes, moving your body. I mean, we can express our emotions. So one of the things you can do to help children be able to understand emotions, being able to both understand what they're seeing emotions in front of them and also when they're experiencing it internally, is by doing things like we said. The emoticons would be one. Another way, we talked about the mirrors, and they could practice, and then they can come back and you try to make different faces, and how many emotions can you accurately make on your face, making it a game and making it fun. And then moving into, you could do where you can watch your TV and turn the volume down. That way you're not hearing the sounds, but just watching the different body motions and facial expressions and everything like that, and teaching them how to read body language and asking them, well, what emotion are you looking at there? And you could play a little game and then turn the sound back on. You get now more information and see how accurate you are, and you can play back and forth with each other. You'd be surprised how quickly children can learn this kind of thing. And of course, the final thing would be something like music, allowing them to bring different songs and what emotions that it may be evoking in them, and bringing that out, moving to it, because a lot of times, emotion means to emote means to move. And so allowing ourselves to move our body. So oftentimes when we're learning, we try to think we're in classrooms and we're just sitting down, but getting up, standing up, moving your body, finding out how emotions actually influence the way we move, and vice versa. So that's some of the basic pillars I would assess. I would give out to and advice for people to kind of help teach their children emotions. And you may be surprised that a lot of us adults don't understand a lot about emotions, and you can learn a lot as well. There will be two resources I'm going to put underneath here. One is John Gottman's book. I believe it's Raising an Emotionally Intelligent Child. And then there's another one by Dan Siegel, Parenting from the Inside Out. Those are the two most common books I give to parents about helping them to understand the emotions of their children. Oftentimes implicitly, I'm having them read it so they also learn about emotions themselves. So anyway, thank you, Aaron. I appreciate very much having the question. I'm looking forward to other questions from all the rest of you out there. We have 4 more weeks. We'll see what happens. Take care. Bye-bye.